It is 6 o'clock on Friday, the 22nd of November, 2019. Good evening and thank you for tuning in to the English edition of Ora News. My name is Oliver, bringing you the only daily update of the local Albanian news translated into English. Up first tonight, as he had warned the day before, former prosecutor Besting Mucci appeared before the Constitutional Court today. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Mucci entered the court only to leave an hour later while avoiding the main exit. It is learned that he addressed a request to the chair of the Constitutional Court to express his decision to terminate his mandate following the dismissal of the appeals chamber. I have asked the head of the Constitutional Court to initiate the procedure of verifying the expiration of my term as a member of the Constitutional Court and taking this decision by the court pursuant to Article 127.2 of the Constitution of the Republic of Albania if the terms of the termination of my mandate are verified, said Mucci. But thereafter, Mucci had a meeting with President Meta. The president's press office says that Meta asked Mucci to assess the possibility of revising his latest position so as to ask the Constitutional Court to issue a ruling. The announcement further states that President Meta is awaiting notification from the Constitutional Court to immediately announce this application vacancy. At this point, the head of state appears to have demanded respect for the appeals chamber's decision to remove him from office. Meanwhile, on December 5th, the presidency is set to hold a draw so as to elect the Justice Appointment Council members. Next up, the Parliamentary Inquiry Commission has administered a preliminary and final report by the Venice Commission on President Ilir Meta for the cancellation of the June 30th elections. Within closed doors, members were also made aware of the secret document put in place by the head of state, who claims that if he did not cancel the elections that day, the assembly would go down in flames. Earlier, parliamentary opposition MPs suspected that the delay in the inquiry commission was leaving room for a political bargain between Rama and Meta, but socialist Usimania guaranteed the opposition that it would be the inquiry commission that would answer all the suspicions and allegations propagated by the parties. The mandate of the inquiry commission expires on December 8th, but the Socialist Party has requested that the decree by President Meta on the appointment of the member of the Constitutional Court, Marcida Jafellari, to be part of the commission's review. Leaders of the Preševo Valley have joined together at the Albanian Foreign Ministry to discuss a mutual cooperation that would guarantee the implementation of their rights by the Serbian government. Among other things, Gent Sakai has drawn attention after emphasizing the need to respect one's right to vote. Albanian books and the right to use Albanian symbols were another important topic of the meeting. Sakai stated the recognition of textbooks at the elementary and secondary levels is essential, and we will spare no effort in this regard. Once again, I insist on the proportional inclusion of Albanians in state institutions in the Republic of Serbia at all levels. Sakai said in the discussions on coordinating political stances and deepening cooperation would be materialized in an action plan, all while announcing a very quick visit to the Preševo Valley. As for Albanians of the Preševo Valley, support for the Albanian people, even beyond the borders of the Albanian Republic, are very important. During discussions, the need to overcome internal differences in the service of major national objectives was also emphasized. Moving on, 268 million euros, or 33 billion lek, is the damage caused to the state budget for the period of January to September. The largest violations were observed in the areas of renting, privatization, and concessions. From this alone, the damage to the budget translates into a sum of 20.6 billion lek, followed by public procurements as well as tax and customs revenue. The High State Control has stated that it has started preparing 23 penal reports for officials of various levels, and their office has already conducted 122 audits in domestic institutions. These audits are extended to central institutions and subordinate units such as ministries, general directorates, custom branches, state-owned joint stock companies, and local self-government units. The High State Control finds that much remains to be done to create a culture of managerial accountability, but also to guarantee a more efficient financial management and control system. The level of damage and ineffective or adverse effects of expenditures on the state budget is also outlined in the HSC report. The 2020 budget for agriculture will amount to 11.4 billion lek, or 15% higher. Veterinary, NFA reconstructuring, financial support for the agriculture subsidy scheme, and food security will remain the priorities of this ministry. The fund foresees these programs this year is equivalent to 843 million lek. The scheme is still under discussion and is being reviewed to identify the sectors to be supported, along with appropriate support measures, said Chuchi. Floods have become a major concern for agriculture, and a considerable part of the costs will be funneled to this area. With funding of about 627 million lek, we expect to intervene in about 15 flood protective facilities that are mainly protected by the Shkumbim, Black Dreen, Vjosa, Seman, and Drinos rivers. We are planning for the rehabilitation of high water channels in the Kurbin and Marmaris areas where we've encountered major problems from recent rainfall. All 258 million lek will be used to rehabilitate the 8 dams in these areas as the funding started in 2019, expressed Chuchi. Furthermore, during the budget discussions at the Parliamentary Committee on Economy, the necessity of supporting agriculture was also emphasized. Tirana is the capital of noise. This is a headline that might not surprise you. From morning to evening, on almost every street, citizens are exposed to what is called high acoustic pollution. It's almost impossible to find a quiet place to escape the trumpets of car noise or noise coming from construction sites that have sprouted up everywhere in the capital. Experts say the level of noise pollution is above the norms typically allowed, especially near intersections. According to the Co-Plan Environmental Unit leader, Rodion Joka, the main cause for these headaches remains heavy traffic. The educational institutions are also surrounded by noise. Concerns about noise pollution are also raised by citizens, some of whom say they regret their decision of relocating to the capital. Noise follows them everywhere they go, they say, and the efforts of the municipality of Tirana to reduce the level of pollution are almost zero. According to health experts, exposure to noise negatively affects 2 systems, the first being the hearing system and the second being the nervous system. And finally tonight, 4 and 5 11 to 17-year-olds around the world are not getting enough physical exercise, according to a first such study. The study analyzes global trends of insufficient physical activity among adolescents and urges immediate action to increase physical activity levels in girls and boys aged 11 to 17 years old. The World Health Organization says adolescent health is being damaged, as well as causing impediments to brain development and social skills. Researchers from the World Health Organization who produced the study find that more than 80% of school-age children globally do not meet current recommendations of at least 1 hour of physical activity per day. That includes 85% of girls and 78% of boys. The study, which is based on data reported by 1.6 million 11 to 17-year-old students, finds that across all 146 countries studied between 2001 and 2016, girls were less active than boys in all but 4 countries: Tonga, Samoa, Afghanistan, and Zambia. In the global rankings, Asian teens in South Korea, the Philippines, and Cambodia rank among the world's most inactive, with over 90% of young people exercising below these recommendations and the least likely to engage in running, cycling, swimming, soccer, or gymnastics. Meanwhile, Albania ranks 6th on the list with the most active children in the world. In terms of gender, Albanian girls are less active than boys, with a difference of more than 10%. Meanwhile, the most active children can be found in Bangladesh, Slovakia, Ireland, and the United States. Some countries have made efforts to improve physical activity levels, but the use of technology and games in the country have increased, and this is undermining efforts, the study's lead author said on Friday. The WHO recommends that adolescents meet the 60-minute goal of day-to-day physical activity by going to school on foot or by bike, but policymakers are being encouraged as well to provide safer sporting environments and roads. And that's the news across the country today. Thank you so much for watching our English edition this evening, and be sure to join us again every Monday to Saturday at 6 p.m. for the latest news from Albania. Once again, on behalf of Ora News, thank you and have a good night.